started. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Marianne Kromkowski, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Leelanau County. The League of Women Voters is a national political organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in their government. We work to increase understanding of major public policy issues and also influence public policy through education and advocacy. The League is nonpartisan and as an organization does not oppose or support candidates or individual political parties. League membership is open to men and women who are 16 years of age or older. Our current league here is approximately 30% male, and we have now passed 160 members. Dues are $60 a year or $90 for a family membership. Membership applications are at the front table on our brochures or can be found online at lwvleelanau.org. Our monthly forums are taped and are initially broadcast on upnorthmedia.org and then on our website under video links. Two other announcements. We have our annual dinner coming up and our annual meeting on May 25th. It'll be at the Homestead. Our speaker this year is Rana Elmir from the ACLU. She's the deputy director of the ACLU. And the topic, or the title of her presentation is, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? There are RSVP forms at the door. Dinner and presentation is $30. Just if you wish to come for the presentation, it's $15. RSVPs are due by May 15th, so we can get a head count. Once again, that is May 25th at the Homestead. Meet and greet starts at 5:30. The dinner is at 6. And our June presentation is Sharing Anishinaabe History and Culture. And it'll be June 7th at noon. And this presentation will not be here, but will be at the Ayawing Museum and Cultural Center in Peshabi Town at noon. So once again, we'll have a sign here if you come here by mistake, but it's at the museum in Peshabi Town at noon, Sharing Anishinaabe History and Culture. Today we host a forum entitled Age-Friendly Leelanau. How do we get there? Phil Meixel is the chair of our Age-Friendly Leelanau Committee, and he will be the moderator and introduce the rest of the panelists. Welcome.
Should I use yours or mine?
It doesn't matter if there's one on the time. So.
Okay. Try this. How's that? How's that? All right, you got to be close. Anyway, welcome everyone. I was at a presentation, I can't remember whether it was League or not, but at one point somebody noted that a large portion of Leelanau County were seniors, and there was a great cheer that went up from the audience because everybody there was part of that group. So here we are. Let me recognize before, I've been chair of this committee now for the several years that we've been in operation, and I want to mention the members of the committee because they've met faithfully and worked hard on a variety of things. And the committee are Mary Ball, Larry Coppard, Chris Palmer, Mary Tonneberg, Pamela Smith-Bell, Patricia McGee, April Messias, and Ty Wessel. Presenting today, and I'm not going to introduce them further than this, and they'll get up in the order of their presentation, are Mary Tonneberger, Chris Palmer, and Pamela Smith-Bell, and I'll finish up at the end again. Let me bring you up to date a little bit on how we ended up with this topic at this time. Several years ago, it was in September of 2014, some of us undertook to look at some of the demography and just some of what we ought to know about Leelanau County. And we spent that year looking at a variety of socioeconomic and demographic features of the county. And at the end of the year, the one thing that really struck us, not surprisingly, was the high proportion of seniors. And our then member, Barbara Reiner, said, you know, that we really need to study that, and pushed pretty hard. And so we agreed to continue on the next year by focusing on the senior population. And last year at this time, about exactly this time, we reported on the initial phase of that work. And so today's work is a second progress report. You won't perhaps be surprised to know that we don't have come with any ready-made answers or particular ways that this is all going to be handled. But I hope you'll find the material interesting. The characteristic that really jumped out at us and said this calls for more than just continuing on with one of the number of studies. You can imagine that everything from the UN to the state of Michigan have various kinds of reports on senior-friendly policies, how to make your community appropriate for seniors, how to do this, that, and the other. And we looked at those, and we talked with a number of people in the county, went around to lunches and talked with you'll hear later at Senior Expo, talked with some folks. And the thing that is really interesting and challenging about Leelanau County is that we combine two features. One, as the handout I've given you, if you've looked at that at all, shows you or if you haven't been asleep for the last several weeks, there are a terrific number of seniors in Leelanau County. We are a graying community, believe it or not, right? Anyway, I'm sure it's not a shock. But we are one of the oldest counties in the state. The other thing that's really interesting and makes a lot of the reports that were done in big cities and other venues not of much help to us is that we're rural in character. And all of those studies that are set in, and most of them are in big cities or in other places, really aren't very helpful when it comes to dealing with Leelanau County. So that's one reason we felt that it was worthwhile to continue to look at this with respect to Leelanau County. It's a challenging topic in a lot of ways because obviously with close to 40% of the population of the county, all right, 9,000 people, there's a great range. I mean, it's a big segment of the population, so that the 100 or so people that we talked with at Senior Expo, and looking around the room, those of us who are here, who are mobile and engaged, life's pretty good, actually. I mean, that's why a lot of us moved up here, after all. But at the other end of the spectrum, there are the 125 or so people who are clients of Meals on Wheels. There are a number of people who have trouble financially or otherwise getting proper health care, getting to proper health care, even handling daily tasks. So it's that whole range of things, and we probably, you'll understand, as we work on age friendliness, we're probably more interested in the end of the spectrum that is needing more help than we are those of us who continue to be able to happily be independent and be engaged in a variety of things. Anyway, I'd like, before I turn the program over to the specific reporters, and let me just, before I do that too, what we're going to do is have reports on the areas that we decided to focus on were transportation, healthcare, and housing, and community support, something called community support, and I'll report on that at the end. But those will be the four focuses for today's presentation. So when I'm finished doing this, we'll turn to those, and then we'll have a chance for, I hope, some questions for timely in the way we get through this. And then we would like your help before you all leave. We have some cards up here. And for the next phase of the program, and I'll deal with this more later, but I want to mention it right now, we'd like to be able to identify better as we can the various resources and organizations in the county that are dealing with seniors somehow. One of the features of this being a rural and in some ways very local kind of county, we have local communities. Living up in Northport, I can tell you. Anyway, we have very local communities. There are lots of resources and things that we just don't know about. They're informal, they're local and stuff, and one of the places we'd like to begin is to try to identify those a little bit more and maybe find a way that they could all get to know a little bit more about one another and what's available. And to allow us, I think the term I would use is to going forward to just be a bit more intentional about what we're doing with seniors and in aiming toward a more age-friendly Leelanau. Okay, with that, let me, oh no, before I turn it over. Are there any questions? I handed out the data sheet, and as people know, I'm kind of a data guy. But I just think it's worth having this in front of you. We know a lot of this, but I continue to find it fascinating. I mean, from 2010 to 2016, our proportion of population over 60 increased 7%. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge, in less than a decade, that's a huge increase. I'm sure it reflects both influx of older people, of retirees, but to some extent, what we know is the outflow and the lack of the addition of people in the working ages with families, and that's a concern on the other end of things, as we know. You notice also in the middle there then that we have households with people living alone, 12% of the households with somebody over 65 as someone living alone. And you notice that down below, again, in some ways, Table C is a replication of Table A, but a little more detailed, and in 2016 only. But it gives you an idea of the weighting of that toward the 60 and over end, the heavy weight on that. So just in case you need to be persuaded, I think this is pretty clear. So with that, let me turn the mic over to our first presenter, Mary Tonneberger, and she can talk about transportation.
Okay.
It's on.
Thank you, Phil. And it's great to see all of you. I know many of you, and I think this particular segment of the presentation will relate to some of your experience here. First of all, I want to thank Ty Wessel, who's our AV guru over here.
They couldn't quite focus it on the screen, you know.
Okay. But transportation for seniors in this county is challenging, as we all know. I'm sure you know seniors who have no transportation unless friends or relatives help them. And as people age, some people are driving still that potentially shouldn't be driving, particularly in the serious weather in the winter. I had a chat just yesterday again with an MDOT representative, and he said the state law does allow people to nudge people to take another driving test, and it can be anonymous. But we know people who shouldn't be driving, but nobody wants to give up that ability. And as many of us have moved here, we don't have potentially relatives living close by who can help out with errands like medical appointments, shopping. I'm sure many of you who say are down in Traverse City at Myers, you'll see some of the buses from the assisted living facilities getting people to Myers, etc. But we don't have that at this point in time in our county, but we'll get to that in a minute. Solutions, current solutions. And this is a moving target because it was changing overnight for me. But we all know there's private taxi services, but they're flexible, obviously, door to door, but the cost from places in Leelanau County to Traverse City are very expensive. Beta at this current time with some of the buses has not been user-friendly, but we have a representative from Beta here today, and he's big smile on his face, Alan Vanderpass, who will be here for Q&A because of the millage passed last night. So Beta will be able to expand its services for us. The current Beta service has limited routes, and the director of Beta and one of her assistants, we've met with them And they're very open to changes that can be done as long as they get input from all of us. Munson has health rides door to door, and it's a new service that Munson has been offering and is available. It's basically a $50 round trip from Lake Leelanau to Traverse City, and it's a focus on helping people get to medical appointments, particularly those needing physical therapy and have disability issues, wheelchairs, etc. And it's worked out very well for some of the people I know who have been able to use it. ShareCare and the new director, Julie, is here today. ShareCare has had for 20 plus years a volunteer driver of the day program for members who have joined. It's worked out for ShareCare members to be very advantageous to call Deb Weatherby, who's also here, our administrator, make an appointment, have a person pick them, the member up at their home, take them to an appointment, wait for them, bring them back home. It could be medical appointments, it could be shopping trips, personal care appointments. That has been a model here nationwide for ShareCare. Leelanau County Senior Services is initiated a volunteer driver of the day program upon request and with appointment, but it's at this current time medical rides only. We're all aware, I know, that Senior Services is facing some significant financial challenges, and the subcommittee of the county board is working on that and trying to make sure that senior services for those most in need will continue. Okay, longer term solutions. This is what I mentioned that was changing overnight. The Beta millage passed, and Beta is piloting a door-to-door program here. I think there's a handout for all of you, and we have more up here. But the Grand Traverse Band awarded the grant for the trial. It's a Tuesday and Thursday service, 10 to 4, and $3 one way to destinations in Traverse City. Reservations are required, but it's for use by seniors and those with physical disabilities. Beta's also discussed having a park and ride potential from designated locations. That is on the drawing board as best I understand. Expanded senior services door-to-door program, and it's dependent on the future funding of senior services, but it would need an added coordinator and volunteers. This could be a potential use of vouchers for lower income seniors. Beta is also exploring a 10-county effort, and that's where Alan Vanderpass here is the director, for Medicaid eligible clientele with transportation services. So those are all emerging as changes here that will serve us. And self-driving cars, under development in Michigan. The director of MDOT spoke to, I was at an area agency meeting, and he thinks by 2020, Michigan will be in the forefront of self-driving cars. And finally, Uber-type service that's being discussed, but in the ticker this morning, lo and behold, how many of you saw this in the ticker? It's ride-sharing business launches in Traverse City. It's unbelievable, but it's basically focused and run by women for safe rides for women. So this is here already. So be on the lookout for that. And finally, in summary, I think our league is going to continue, and that's what near the end we'll be soliciting more ideas from you, is raise awareness of the challenges. What are the challenges in our county? We definitely need to develop more private-public partnerships, whatever they may be, but everybody knows what we need. It's just a matter of who can provide it. And I think finally, volunteerism is also the wave of the future. I noted ShareCare has volunteers, Senior Services has volunteers. Volunteers through other organizations will be a strong part of the solution. So I thank you for your time.
Who do you have next? Oh, okay.
I'll give
Okay. Pamela Smith Bell is going to talk about housing.
Well, we've already talked about how we're nearing 40% of seniors in our county. And one of the things we haven't discussed, is this on?
You need to be real close.
Oh, okay. Is understanding issues that seniors may have about housing. There are a lot of studies that are suggesting that when people are allowed to age in their own homes, they suffer fewer illnesses, they're mentally stronger, and they actually live longer, and it costs far less to keep people in their homes than to put them in assisted living. Our committee looked at about 4 different areas for study. The main one was affordable housing. Another was the challenges of living alone and challenges to navigating the home safely and identifying strategies that people are already using to be able to manage these. The largest one was affordable housing, and what was remarkable and alarming was that as we went around and talked to different people that work with seniors or that are involved in planning housing and zoning and ordinances, none of them had any awareness of the challenges that seniors are having about affordable housing. We're all hearing about challenges for the workforce and young families and how the county is addressing those things and looking at those issues, but not one person that we talked to had considered senior citizens. 40% of the population are not included in these discussions. We also talked to challenges about living alone, and transportation obviously is one. Another one is communication, and so internet was a big part of that. Our senior services and ShareCare, we do actually have a lot of programs in place that do deal with a lot of the challenges. And we discussed a little bit about navigating the home safely. One of the things we talked about was when new homes are being planned, that it might be good to develop features in the home that will grow with the person and make it easy for them to use the home later on, so that new homes should just have those features built into them. So, yes, we don't have any solutions either, but we do recommend that we do continue to look for more information about the housing challenges for seniors, and also keep abreast of the planning that's going on right now about housing, and make sure that the seniors' needs are addressed in this planning. Some of the, because we couldn't find any data about this, even April from Senior Services noticed that there's a lack of data. We have anecdotal evidence and find that seniors that are struggling, a lot of them are finding creative ways to stay in their homes, and some of this would be to be living with their children or having their children live with them or other people, or renting out part of their place. A lot of different creative ways that they're managing to do that. And because some of our ordinances and zoning is changing now, we have to make sure that seniors are taken into consideration so that they'll be able to use some of these methods they've already found to be able to stay in their homes. So that's all I have, and I really would like to interview a lot more people about these issues, and so when you're filling out these cards, if you're interested in helping us, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I must say that everybody on the committee was sort of taken aback when Patricia came back and reported and said, well, you know, the big story is that housing for seniors is simply not even on the radar. From my own experience, I live in the village of Northport, and a couple of years ago when we made our little run at doing some lower cost housing in the old hospital building, that didn't work out as it turned out, but at the time that was being talked about, nobody talked at all about seniors. And yet I was persuaded, I mean, I'm pretty sure that had that gone through, given the structure of that something like a third, you know, some big number of the units would have been claimed by seniors who would be happy to have been living in the village in those circumstances. So I think, anyway, we've identified a big gap, if nothing else, in the way we go forward. And again, the rural character of Leelanau County is a challenge on this. That project in Northport failed because I want to tell you, there's no way in the world MISTA is going to fund a program up here. Their scoring system is all designed for Kalamazoo to Flint. I mean, and that makes sense for them, but it just means that I'm not quite sure what we're going to do, but it's not going to be probably with the help of MISTA or some other state agency. Anyway, well, with those happy words, let me turn the microphone over to Chris Palmer, who will talk about healthcare.
Which, of course, I have lots of happy words to talk about healthcare. Anyway, good afternoon. A year ago, we spoke of healthcare services available in the county. Some things have changed, but accessing healthcare for seniors in Leelanau County is still a very difficult endeavor. The rural nature of the county, limited transportation options, as Mary spoke of, and few healthcare providers are significant obstacles. A promising technological development would be the expansion of a telemed-type service. Some insurers are currently offering services of healthcare practitioners through the use of Skype, which allows video conferencing calls. This, however, requires internet connection and also an understanding of how to use the technology. We would suggest that fire stations might be a source for these interactions. EMTs may be able to assist in processing the information and also in explaining the technology. Of course, the expansion of internet connectivity to all areas of the county is critical. Once again, distance can make provision of healthcare services difficult for both providers and patients. There is a great need for the expansion of visiting nurse and prescription monitoring programs for at-risk seniors. Senior Services recently added a part-time RN care coordinator to provide nursing assessments and follow-up services. This service is currently contracted through July of this year. However, it is in jeopardy because of the recent shortfall that we've all heard about for Senior Services. The use of chronic care management, a private insurer which does provide home visits and billing services, has increased. However, as you all probably know, a very notable loss has been the the urgent care clinic in Sutton's Bay. All this good news. Evidence has shown that the continuing engagement of seniors, both physically and socially, is critical to their wellness.